Hi everyone, my name is Duncan Tonatiuh, and I'm the author and illustrator of Separate is Never Equal, Sylvia Mendez and her family's fight for desegregation. So the first question is, what inspired you to write about Sylvia Mendez and her fight? Well, I only learned about Sylvia Mendez and her family story a few years ago, but when I first learned about it and I first heard it, I thought it was a very important story. And I think it's a very important story for two reasons. One is that it's an important piece of American history. The case is very important because it paved the way for the desegregation of schools all across the United States, not only in California. And I think a lot of people, including myself, didn't know about the segregation that Mexican American and Latino children and people experienced in the 40s in the United States. So I think it's very important for people to know history and to learn about this. And the other reason why I was inspired to do the book and why I thought it was important is because I think it's very relevant today. I think a kind of segregation still exists today. Although legal segregation is not allowed in schools any longer, there's still a lot of division that happens still. Sometimes I get invited to visit schools in different parts of the United States to talk about my books, and I often see that schools in poor neighborhoods tend to be mostly Latino and African American, and schools in wealthier neighborhoods tend to be attended mostly by white or Anglo children. So I think a lot of the similar issues that were happening 70 years ago are still happening today, and I hope kids will relate to the book because of that. Do you consider yourself more a writer or more an artist? What made you want to be a writer and artist? Well, I've liked writing and drawing since I was pretty young, since I was a kid. When I was in elementary school, I would always borrow a book from my school's library, and I would read it in the afternoon, and that was a way for me to entertain myself. And I also became very interested in comic books and in anime, and I would make my own. I would create my own superheroes and write my own stories. And I started doing that when I was 7, 8 years old, and it's just something I kept doing, and I kept on being interested in writing and reading and art through middle school, high school. I went to a university where I took writing and illustrating classes, and now it's something I get to do for a living. When you were a kid, did you think that you would be writing and illustrating such powerful picture books? How did you imagine your future? Well, I liked writing and drawing from a young age, but I wasn't exactly sure what direction it was going to take me. At some point I thought I was going to be a carpenter or an architect or a journalist or a photographer. There were different things that I was interested in, but always kind of creative careers and art. And it wasn't until I almost had finished college that the opportunity to do children's books presented itself to me. A professor of mine introduced me to an editor at a publishing company called Abrams, and they liked my drawings, and I told them I liked writing, and so the editor told me a few things about children's books and picture books, and I tried writing a book, and that eventually became my first book, which is called Dear Primo, a letter to my cousin. Have you met Sylvia Mendez? If so, what was the biggest impression you came away with from that meeting? Yes, I've had a chance to talk with Sylvia and to meet her twice. And so I first learned about Sylvia's story in 2012. And not long after, I had the opportunity to meet her in person in Austin, Texas, and in San Marcos. She was there for the Texas Book Festival and also for the Tomas Rivera Children's Book Award, and I had a chance to listen to her speak, and I had a chance to just hang out with her and ask her questions and learn a lot about her story and the case. and later on in 2013, I had a chance to see her again. I visited her in her home in Fullerton, California, which is very close to where she grew up, and where the case took place. And she's a very kind and very generous woman. When I visited her in her house, she showed me pictures of when she was a little girl, and I guess the biggest impression I have from her is just that she's very very friendly and very generous, and even though she's not a young person anymore, she's very young at heart. What advice would you give young writers and artists as they learn to improve their skills? Well, for those interested in writing, I would say read. Read as much as you can. Learn from what other writers do. So if you read, you pay attention to how other authors put a story together. And then for people that are interested in drawing and in creating art, I guess draw as much as you can, and also look at what other artists have done, and try and look at their techniques and learn from what other people have done, and try and absorb as much as you can, and then try and create your own work yourself, and I think little by little you'll be able to find your voice. But the more time and energy you dedicate into your writing and into your artwork, the better it will be.